What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Outside the Clutch. This is going to be a special episode. We're actually streaming live from the Narbc Arlington. Let me know, just because this is kind of a different way of doing it for me, let me know if you can hear me. Everything's coming through clear real quick. Give me kind of a, hey, how you doing type thing, you know? Just let us know that everything's going right. Today, we're going to be talking with one of my good friends in the industry, Mr. Danny Cadena. I said it right?
Yes,
Did I
sir.
say it with the right accent?
Yes.
Cadena. We've been friends for a really long time, and pretty much as long as we've been in the industry.
Yeah.
I can hear you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We've been friends in the industry for pretty much since we came in, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, going back to at least like 2018. Around there. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the sponsors real quick, and then we're going to dive into Danny because that's what we're here for. So everyone knows that I'm a huge advocate for all things husbandry. To do your husbandry right, you have to have the right products. Here at Outside the Clutch, we're honored to be sponsored by VivTech. Are you ready for innovation? Tired of the same boring product that's been used for 30 years? Ready to give your reptiles and amphibians the UV they really deserve? Then look no farther than VivTech. Their 3-watt LED bulbs provide the UV rays your animals have been missing. With 3 bulbs to fit your pet's climate needs, plus a dimmable feature, it's the only bulbs we use for UV. And it's the only bulb with a 2-year warranty in the industry. Plus now you can monitor all your pet's husbandry from your phone 24/7 with their sensors, and even ship your customers' animals in their custom bags. So what are you waiting for? Go to VivTechProducts.com today, use code FCLUTCH0322 for 15% off, and provide your animals the best care they've ever had. Hey, bro. Substrate's important.
Absolutely.
What kind of substrate do you use?
REPTILES.
Are you ready for the best coconut substrate in the game? Then you gotta get REPTILES. First off, it's America's chip because it's veteran owned. Secondly, why wouldn't you want the best cocoa chip for your animals? Go to REPTILES.com, use code FEELYCHIPPIN for 10% off up to 3 breeder blocks, or your entire order of Easy Hatch trays or any Redline Science equipment on the site. Limit 1 coupon per customer. Or reach out to me as a representative in the El Paso area, and don't forget to join the Reptilution, where all profits go to helping those in need within the reptile community. And finally, Show Me Snake shows. If you haven't checked out one, they're all over the country. I still, with this show going on, I did not finish the commercial. I have not had internet for basically the last 3 days, so sorry. That's about where I'm going to go. We're going to get the commercial made. Check out a show. Mickey does a great job. He packs his heart into these shows. He's trying to build something really good, beneficial.
We need one
for the
in Central
industry.
Texas.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, there's one in Odessa.
Yeah. Well,
You just got to travel a little
bit. There's a pretty way out west, but
So check out a Show Me Snake show, y'all. We're going to go ahead and say hi to a couple of people in here. Give you all some love because we appreciate you coming in. Mama Mary from Mary and the Holy Balls. Appreciate you for stopping in.
She's
Always
good
a good time.
Good person.
You will survive it. I don't know who that is. I'm assuming that's family.
Yes, that is my sister.
Welcome. Thank you for watching. Jamie, that's family. That's 15 Minutes of Lame family. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Unicorn. Do you know who that is? I don't know who that is.
I don't know.
No? All right. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for checking the show out.
But you will survive it real quick. Yeah, that's my sister. I just want to give her a really quick pump up because she's back to battling her breast cancer, 4-stage.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
and she's a trooper. She's been doing it for years, and she's on a new chemo right now, and it's going well. But just I love you, and you got this. I know you got this. All right.
Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Don't give it up. Lose balls. What's up, dude? Thanks for coming on. Tom, that's family. Sending love to Otto. He had his stem cells. Last I knew, he's at home, but throw some love out to Otto. That's your mom, apparently, and you didn't know
Oh, that's her. Oh no, that is part of her email address. I'm sorry, Mom.
it. You're in trouble with
I am.
mom.
I'll hear about it
Nixon
later.
Reptiles, what's good? Thank you so much for joining. I hope y'all are ready for this. I'm pretty excited for this. So we have a lot of shared history, not only in the reptile industry, but also in the path of life that we chose. So we're going to dive into Danny right now and find out what made Danny Danny, and then kind of talk about our shared backstories and what reptiles has become for Danny.
Yeah.
So what brought you up besides mom? What brought you up to be the man that you are today? Because someone forgot his own mom. No, I'm
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
just kidding.
I'll hear about that later.
Uh-oh.
No, I mean, with her and my dad, the way they brought us up, it was just, we had, it was ups and downs and everything. But my mom, she was always there, whether it was sports or nothing. She was our cheerleader on the sideline. I mean, heck, I can still hear her name during soccer games as kids. You would be running around. The only thing I would hear was her name yelling out there, "That's my baby," running around. But she was a big supporter. And my dad was a hard worker, supporting the family. And so I got my, values and ethics and hard work and determination from them, and kept driving forward.
So what got you to go into the military? Because that's one of our shared histories, right?
Yeah.
And
So my grandfather was a World War II vet, and I always looked up to him, and he always, he would grind me growing up. What are you going to do? My nickname was the Gunna Boy. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know. So after high school, well, actually my senior year, I was going to join the Marines. So I went down to recruiter, and they brainwashed me. I was like, yes, I'm going to boot camp. Then I got a good job at the HEB warehouse in San Antonio. I was like, oh, you're going to pay me how much an hour? Oh, I ain't going. I'm never joining the military. Then I met Anna. We started dating. She was actually going to go in the reserves. I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Well, then we split up because of me. I was, young and dumb.
young and dumb. Man.
And we were split up for about 3 months. Well, in the time that we split up, she went down to recruiter and was like, I need out of here. I want to go active duty. Then we get back together. She's like, well, I already went to recruiter. I'm going to active duty. And I was like, well, you get stationed at Fort Hood. I'll transfer to the distribution center in San Marcos and I'll commute. Well, she goes off to basic and AIT and gets orders to Germany. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not letting that happen. So it was like little hints in the mail, little letters. And she's like, well, are you proposing? And I was like, well, yeah. So she's like, all right. So we got married. So I was her dependent at first.
You were a dependent.
I was a dependent.
You were a dependent.
I had the orange ID card in Germany. And I'm over there like, oh, with my background skills, I'm going to get a job. Too easy. Nope. And I cashed out my 2 weeks of sick leave and a week of leave from HEB. So, man, I got cash. We're good. No job. Nothing. And we were at a movie theater in Baumholder, Germany. And she was like, you either need to join or you have to go home because the bills were piling up. Her mom was helping us. And it was like, what do we do? So I went down to the recruiting station in Kaiserslautern, Germany, and was like, yep, here we go. 2 months later, I was off to basic training in Fort Benning. And
the rest is history.
Yeah. She got out after our son was born after 3 years. Then I stayed in, and the rest is history.
You worked your way all the way up.
I started as a E-nothing coming in. I was 24, so I knew where I wanted to do. I was like, no, I'm focused. I want to keep going. So E4, made E5 in 3 years, made E6 in 6 years, made the E7 list in 8 years, and then dropped my warrant packet when I was around. Yeah, because I pinned W1 about 9.5, which is the best decision I ever made. Coming a warrant officer, I loved it.
You don't even have to work.
No, I remember. But I remember seeing warrant officers when I was, E4 and E5, because the warehouse that Anna worked at when she was in. I remember seeing the CW2 there, and I was like, man, I want to be that. I want to be a warrant officer. Those guys, they're the subject matter experts. That's what I want to do. So that was my goal. E7 was just a bonus, but then becoming that and being just that subject matter expert, working with the commanders and moving my way up, man, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would. I loved every minute of it till about the 19-year mark when I was like, okay, I'm done.
I think that's a thing for everybody though. Like you hit that 5-year point and you're like, okay, if I could just make it to 10, I'll make it to 20.
Make it that halfway
and
mark.
then
You know, the funny thing
that
is
last 5 years to 10, man.
yeah,
It's just
when
crazy.
you're in it like the year 2 and 3 mark, you see that 20, you're like, that's gonna take forever. But once you hit that 10, 11, then you look back and you're like, where did the time go? And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been retired for 4 years. I'm like, wait a minute, blink of an eye and it's gone. It's crazy.
And then what brought you into reptiles?
Reptiles. Well, I've always loved animals as a kid. Heck, I remember one time I was with my mom and dad. I can't remember where we were going. Maybe it was church or something. And there was a turtle on the side of the road, big 4-lane road. And I made him stop so I could get out, grab the turtle, wait for traffic, crossed it to get it to the other side because there was a big river on the other side that we used to go fishing at growing up. Get back in the car and take off. And then I remember in high school, didn't know too much about the python side. I was like, I just loved animals. I always were doing stuff. And I bought an albino Burmese. This is amazing. This thing looks great. And then about a year later, I was like, whoa, this thing's getting pretty big.
Right.
You know, and I built my own enclosure in wood shop with the heat and everything. And there wasn't YouTube or, the internet or anything to research and find out. So I was like, well, let me pick the breeder's brain. This is what I need to do. Then it just started getting too big. And then I was working so much. So I sold him.
I was going to say, did
you
you regret that decision quick?
A little bit. And I reached back out to the breeder and he was like, hey, he was probably about 9-10 feet long when I got rid of him. I sold him back to the breeder. He's like, hey, I'll take him back. And for what you bought him for. I was like, that's fine. And I mean, shortly after that,
you grew him up for him.
So it was always there. And we're a big animal family. We got the damn zoo at the house. We've always had animals, cats and everything, dogs. And then when I got to that point where we were like, hey, I think when we PCS from Hawaii and came back to Fort Hood the last time in 2015, it was like, all right, we got our dogs. We got a chocolate lab for my cousin. So we had our 2 dogs. Anna had another one, a little Chewini that she got in 2013. Max, he's awesome. He's a good little dude. And I came back from Afghanistan and we got our Belgian Shepherd. Beautiful, solid black. She's a gorgeous animal. And it was like, hey, we don't have to move anymore. Anna was like, hey, let's get a ball python. I'm like, all right, okay, well, yeah, all right, cool. So we started reaching, looked on Morph Market, we got a super pastel hybo from Powerline Reptiles, salmon them out there. Shout out to you guys. And then she was like, hey, there's a reptile expo in Arlington. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's check this out. Right. So we were going to go Saturday and stuff came up. We didn't make it. We got up Sunday morning and we were both like, let's go. So we got Carmen and Lewis and was like, drove up there, came back with a rack from Brace Exotics. I think 3 ball pythons, a couple from Will Banks and one from Don at Shores Enough. It was like, all right, we're on our way. And then we met Matt and Anya from Snake Eyes. They're not in the business anymore, but they're still good friends of ours. And then we started getting more of their stuff and more of their stuff. Another rack from Brace Exotics. And then it was like, oh, we're getting stuff from Sea Serpents. Then we're online. And then say, hey, we're breeding. And then it just ballooned. And she loves it. I love it. So the thing that's cool is because it's a hobby that we do together. We enjoy it. Where I get up in the morning before work, I'm in the snake room, checking the hatchlings, checking this, checking the rodents. And then she's taking care of it when I'm at work. And then I come home and it's like dinner, homework, very cool. All right, kids, y'all are settled. Back in the snake room, doing everything till 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then we just do it again. And on the weekends, what are we doing? Hey, we're building rodent racks. We're doing this. Hey, we need to make ReptiChip. Hey, we're going to this show. We're going that. And then fast forward to the last Arlington show, vending our first show at NERBC. And it was just like, dude, this is amazing. It's just, and the community itself.
It came full circle.
It did.
It's crazy.
It did. And the community is so awesome. I mean, you go back and look at all the stuff the community does to help each other, whether it's us doing the auctions and helping USARK to, when JT had the fire at his house, everybody pulled together from him and just anything. you need something, everybody's going to be there to help you. It's a tight knit group,
100%.
and it's just one big happy family. At the end of the day, we're all freaking snake nerds, man. And we love it. It's awesome.
We're all just nerds in the first place. What do you think? You remember when you first came here, and that's amazing. I remember us meeting.
Yeah, it
the
was
first
at
time.
the
And it was just
auction
like,
because I remember I saw Maria. I was like, "Hey," I remember watching YouTube. I was like, "Where's John?" She's like, "Oh, he's over there." That's when you still had the big old long beard. That's when I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And then we just hit it off from there. Yeah,
it's been. It was funny because like we really started, and it was like social media, and we kept in touch that way, and then it just like it blossomed into what it is, which is great.
Whether we're just sending stickers and shirts and sharing ideas, just laughing, joking, phone calls or, "Hey, are you busy? 12 more now. What's up, man? I had this going on. What do you think?" "Oh, it's good, man. It's gonna be all right. We'll do this. Try this." Yeah.
And we're still that way to this day, which I appreciate. Like I love that you're getting into rodents now. Like you have questions and the curiosity peaking in you again. Not that it does it with ball pythons, but like
no, but that was something that I remember talking to Anna. I was like, should have done this years ago. And it wasn't until we got the LLC and I was like, all right, hey, we got to do taxes this year. So I start doing the expenditures and I'm like, okay, what do I got to write off? And I'm like, oh, we spent how much on frozen thawed last year? Nope. Hey, and that's when I sent you the pictures. I was like, well, check out what's going on. We're building all these rodent racks and it's slowly coming along. I think we had some ASFs litters being born and then some regular rats. And we did mice at first just because they reproduce so fast. I'm like, all right, I can take the edge off a little bit and start feeding the mice, especially for the hatchlings.
Right.
And then the other ones. But yeah, I got to build another one next weekend. Then I'm going to build a maternity rack. And then we're expanding, like I was showing you the pictures where we insulated the small garage, and expand into that room. Because right now everything's in the snake room. The rodents, the snakes, it doesn't bother the snakes at all. But
no, I'm
you
sure
just
they're happy as can be right
yeah.
now. They smell rodents 24/7.
Oh yeah, and you take them out and they're fine. You just don't handle them. But you got to watch with the humidity. You got to change the bedding out more often because if you wait 6 days, 7 days, and you can walk in there and be like, it's time. It's better to open the door and be like, oh, it smells like pine in here. It's better. But yeah, but eventually we'll do the mini split in there and move in, and then it'll be good.
What's so everyone has that thing that kind of defines whether they think they're gonna make it or not, whether it's just as a keeper, a business, or anything like that, right? So before you decided to go full bore with this and create the LLC, what was that defining moment for you, and what pushed you through it?
I want to say a defining moment was probably hatching that first clutch. When you see that clutch and it's something that you produced, you made, you put the thoughts and everything that goes into that. And when those babies start hatching, it's like, oh no, this is amazing. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep doing it. And then they start selling, whether it's local here and there. And then you're like, okay. And then those people keep you, then you gain that relationship with those folks. There was some that came up, I think where I was at the last show, I'm walking through the auction and I heard someone go, yeah, I think that's Danny over there. And I'm like, what? And they're like, hey, we bought a snake from you. Can we take a picture? And I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. And then they came back this time and they're like, hey, no, I want this one and I want this one. I'm going to buy that. He stopped me at the auction. He's like, hey, that one you have at the table, I'm going to buy it. I can't do it today. I'll get you the money next week. I'm like, okay, Paul, put on hold, man. No problem. But I think for that, that's the driving factor behind it. You're building that relationship with the folks that you're meeting and you're selling, and I don't know, and just the creativity and everything you can do. I mean, there's so much you can do just with the different genes and the projects, and it's just exciting.
Do you always consider yourself a people person, or have you seen yourself kind of blossom more into it as time goes on with this?
I've seen myself blossom more into it as time goes on. I remember even, God, I used to hate being around or even getting up and talking in front of people. I remember in the Army going to PLDC and they're like, hey, you're going to have to get up and brief this stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, oh, no, I don't want to talk in front of people. But I think, and the military helped me with that a lot too, because later as a senior warrant officer, I was like, no, I'm up there briefing colonels and generals and giving classes and LPDs on all kinds of stuff. So that helped. Because yeah, before in the past, no, I was not. You put me in front of a crowd and I'm like, nope, I'm not saying anything. Stage fright big time, but not
Dude,
anymore.
I still get it. Like
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Like today's the first time I've been at a show where I haven't had to change a shirt like mid show because
Oh,
I'm just
no.
like I still
Uh-huh.
get the anxiety sweats and it's like
Oh yeah, we had
who freaking like didn't wash themselves for the
well,
last
yeah, like
week.
we had
I was like, oh, that's me.
this family and their 3 daughters that were at the table a couple times. They were just engaging and everything. I'm all this stuff, and yeah, you start feeling like, oh, I'm a little warm in here.
It's a good feeling though, like to see that you kind of broke out of that. Because like even with briefings, like your anxiety's there, but it's not.
Oh, it is. It usually
It's
takes
not like, oh, I'm in a big group full of
yeah,
people, and then you come to these.
and it takes like even
It's
those
fine.
it would take after about a couple of minutes, and then you relax. You're like, oh, okay, I'm good. I got this. No big deal. I remember there was one time I was given the I can't remember what we were doing. It was a sand table before we went to Afghanistan. We were briefing the generals, and it was just a rehearsal. And I was holding the microphone. The microphone started shaking. I was like, I'll hold my arm over here. And then after a while, you calm down. But you know, it happens every once in a while.
Oh, for sure. So speaking of shows, since we're at the NARBC, what's been one of your favorite moments in shows so far?
For me, it's the kids coming up to the table. I love that. Like today, they came by a couple different times, and I know some people like I don't want to take the animals out and this and that. And we don't let them take them all out. Like they come out once, twice, and after that, like okay, no, we're not stressing them out. But they're the future of the hobby. Those little kids are coming out, and these are teenagers. It's like okay, I'm explaining to you this, you're taking it out, and they're just in love with it, and they remember that. So the next time they come, maybe they remember. Maybe they come back and be like, I remember, hey, you know what? Now I'm going to go buy a snake from him. Now I'm ready. But they're the future of the hobby. So I think
Exactly.
for me, and I love engaging with everybody, but when I see the kids come up and you see their smiles and they're just like, oh my God, I've never held a snake before. And they hold it for the first time. And sometimes it's the parents. We had one mom today. She was like, oh, here we go. It's going to be okay. And she held it. She's like, this is the first time I've ever held a snake. She had the biggest smile on her face. I think for me, that I really love that more than making the sale.
No, I agree, man. Like there's something special about that moment when you get. I always say it about the kids, but like honestly, just when you get that fear out of someone and they're finally happy, like
Someone
there's
that
just
I'm
something
so
magical
scared of
about that
snakes, and then
moment.
they're holding their first one. They're like, "This is cool. I can do this." That's awesome.
So kind of transitioning it from military to snakes, like we have been. What's some of the things that you think you've taken from your military time that you've been able to incorporate into snakes to make sure that you're driving success forward?
I was the planning, being able to, in the military, you're like, all right, say we're going to Afghanistan. I know I got to do this, and they're like, hey, chief, this is your mission. This is what we're going to be doing. This is what's going on, and you're reaching to the people that are already over there that you're replacing. Hey, what are the problems? What's going on? And then you hit ground, and nothing's what they said it was.
Never.
And then you're like, oh,
Ever.
now I've got to fix this. You didn't tell me this was going on. But then you jump in, you start developing that plan, and you look, where do I need to be? Deployment, where I need to be six months out. So with the reptiles, I'm not looking at, well, what do I want to hatch this summer? What do I want to hatch 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road? And then you start that planning process and incorporating that, kind of like the military decision, MDMP, take that and look out. Because like we always say, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And I think for me, I incorporate that and then, start making those Excel spreadsheets. That's what I'm going to do 5 years. And this is where it's going to go. And
How much time do you spend in front of a computer redoing your stuff?
a lot.
Yeah. I find myself constantly rethinking.
Well, even at work, so all my stuff's on my work computer. I'll have my Excel spreadsheet, and I got
the
my
boss is like math. Like, what is this guy writing out?
Oh no! If they actually monitored my computer and saw what I did versus work sometimes, no, I'm just kidding. It's not that.
Admission of guilt right there.
No,
just playing.
No, but I've got my Excel, and it's like, all right, expenditure, sales, projects, 2023, 2024. What are we doing? Who's breeding this year? Who's breeding the next year? Who's going to who? Who's going to who? What do we need to, look forward to buying? Okay, I'm going to buy, looking for these females now. And then, it helped. Military, that definitely was, it helped a lot.
Structures.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Little structure never hurt no one.
Not at all.
So let's jump into your projects a little bit. Like you jumped into some very interesting projects right away. You've always been excited about them.
Yeah.
Like almost every time I see you, you're talking about them, which is great.
Yeah.
You should be that passionate about your
Yeah.
projects. Like,
Even if it's just
let's-
something simple, you should be passionate about it. You know,
Absolutely.
whether these other three people are not, as long as you love what you're working with and you're passionate about it, doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Someone else is going to be like, yeah, that's kind of cool. You know, whether it's the local dude coming in and saying, I want a blue-eyed Lucy, or this guy saying, hey, I want to, you know, Trojan this or that.
How
It's
tired are you of white snakes?
we do one clutch
I'm
about
just kidding.
every
I'm
other-
just kidding. I have to say.
We didn't do any last year. The year before we didn't. Actually, those things,
They're beautiful.
They were gone.
Yeah, they go fast and they're
who
beautiful.
doesn't love
but
a
I'm
white
just
snake
like,
with blue eyes? But we didn't do any of this last year. We did the year before, and they sold so fast. But it's like oh, well, I'm focused on other stuff. But yeah, I'll still always.
So
have
let's
to
talk about
clutch
some of
it.
those passion projects.
The biggest one is Trojan.
What
Love
drew
the
you
Trojan
to
gene.
the Trojan?
It's an enhancer gene, and that adult Trojan, you know, looks like ultramelon monarch. It's not a recessive. And so I remember looking at it, and I was like, dude, I remember Tony had one on, had some stuff. Justin had some. Abe's Exotics had some. God, there's a couple other ones that I've talked to back and forth. I can't remember the names. And then I reached out to Justin because he had that Enchi Fire Trojan, and I was looking at it. And I was like, dude, that thing's amazing. I think I bought it. It was like 400 grams. So they brought it to a show a couple years ago. I was like, hey, just bring it to the show. I'll pick it up. And I was like, this thing's amazing. And, you know, you could do some, it's a codon, so it's not recessive. So you're like, oh, I don't need to have a visual. You know, I can just plug it in right away. So I was like, all right, you know, seeing what everyone else is doing. So I was like, man, you know what? I've got a beautiful orange dream girl that I got from Matt and Anya. And well, let's see what happens. And I hit that Odienchi Trojan, and that's my table. I hit 3 of those females. And when they came out of the egg, I was like, wow, these things are awesome. So 2 of those girls stay with us. And then we hit a single Enchi Trojan, Fire Trojan. They're at the table. And then I'm just like, okay, a lot of people are doing it. And they're doing clown stuff. And don't get me wrong, man, that Trojan clown, what they're doing, there's a leopard Trojan clown that I saw that is just phenomenal. And I'm like, okay, well, later on down the line, but what can I do now with it? What goes good with Odie, Enchi, and Trojan? And I'm like, got some other stuff in the bag that's for me, that's the big one. That's the favorite one. And then you finally convinced me to get some Desert Ghost stuff a while back.
There you go.
Right? Because I remember you looked at me when I told you I don't got any Desert Ghost stuff, and you gave me that look like, what? I was like, I'm gonna change that. And then I went and bought that one from Steve that very same day. So he's doing a lot of work, made a lot of, you know, Desert Ghosts and heads and
Does one of those "Are you stupid" moments? No.
So he's putting in some work. So a lot of, you know, the Desert Ghost stuff, and I'm hoping that my Motley Clown girl goes this year. That one, remember, I told you,
yeah.
we bred her, we paired her up with
I've
that
been waiting.
banana pie to make double heads, and she ovulated, pre-lay shed, reabsorbed. Then put her with the banana spot nose head clown last year, ovulated, pre-lay shed, reabsorbed. So I'm giving her one more chance. And I was talking with Darren over at Crown Royal Pythons, and I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. And I was like, I'm giving her one more time. He's like, dude, if she doesn't go, give her to me, let me work with her, and I'll give you a proven breeder female that you can work with. And I'm like, cool. But I'm like, I should have an army of clowns. And they're the double heads, they would have been breeding this year, you know, and all kinds. But yeah, it is what it is. It happens. You know, not everything's going to work out the way you want. And you just drive on. Keep going.
Resilience.
But, yes. So hopefully she goes this year. If not, you know, we'll go from there.
That's nice. I think it's very important that we kind of stress on that too, because you obviously you're very structured in the way that you do things. You have
sometimes
kind
too
of your
structured
meticulousness that forces you to overthink it sometimes, which I do the same. Which is fine.
Always.
Like we always do that, right?
Anna will tell you the same.
That's one of the great things about our group is we
Yeah.
all bounce it off of
Yeah.
each other. So we're like, hey, just kind of think about it for a second. But outside of the DG thing, which I'm glad you came to your
Yeah.
senses.
I know. Oh, I'm glad I did too, because that male's gory. He's putting in a lot. He's putting in a lot of work.
What do you think is one of those learning things for you that, not necessarily when you were starting up, but now that like you've had the advice and you've had a couple people come in and kind of mentor, just like
Yeah.
whether it's through friends or through actual mentors. Um, One of those things that you never thought you would think about until you were actually told, "Hey, this is."
Hold back your best stock. Don't always just be like, oh, this everything looks amazing. I just want to sell it so I can make money. It's not about hold your best stuff back. Pick and choose what the stuff that looks great, because that's the
Appeals to
stuff
your
exactly.
eye.
And work with what you love. We always talk about, but hold your best stuff back. And sometimes it's hard. So you're like, oh, and sometimes you want to keep it all, but you can't. You
That's
know?
my problem. Like
Oh.
I'm gonna be called like Will Morrows or Lindsay Noble with her hypo stuff. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, "Oh, Feely never lets anything go within this project." Which anyone that knows me knows what project I'm
Yeah.
talking about. But anyways, like that's my thing, man. Like and I got it came from my first year though, because like my sex odds my first year were like so upside down. Like,
Oh, mine were too.
I got like 90% males, and I was
Ours
just like,
too.
I'm
Like the
keeping everything because I don't have a choice. And then I was like, well, I can let this go, and I can let this go.
I got all these males. Yeah, same. Our sex odds are the same.
How long did it take you to break that?
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was all of a sudden, it's like, oh, male, 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 female, male, male.
Well, that's just been the ability to finally let it go.
Start letting stuff go. A couple years,
Yeah.
you know, and then I look at my table now. I'm like, oh, here's male proven breeder. Here's this one, this adult. I'm like, oh, I don't need those anymore, because, you know, and there's always those ones that are like nostalgic to you, right? Like, hey, this was the one, like the very first one that we ever bought from, you know, Powerline Reptiles, that she'll never go anywhere. Actually, she's breeding with the pastel Desert Ghost Head Hyper right now. She'll never go anywhere. And there's probably about 3 or 4 that we have. It doesn't matter what happens. They'll never leave. They will never go. But it took a couple years to be like, okay. Remember Anna, she was like, wait a minute, you're selling that male banana pie? I'm like, yeah, because we have this other, this that's even better. We don't need it. Oh, okay. And it's like, but you don't want to let them go eventually. Like, all right. And we have a couple years to be able to like, okay, yeah, we can start getting rid of this and getting rid of that.
Is that a talk between both of you, or is that a?
Oh, it is. Yeah, I don't just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to put this on.
I've snuck some and Scott's like, hey, I like that.
Yeah, no, I'll tell her. And then there's some that she'll be like, that's not going anywhere. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. No, that's not. No, you're right. That's staying here.
That's definitely staying here. So anyone that knows me knows. Well, obviously, I've said it. I don't want to produce white snakes again. But my wife loves the blue-eyed Lucy's, and so I have this female blue-eyed Lucy that's just
I got 2 of them
growing up in my racks right now. I'm like, what am I gonna do with you?
Oh, Anna loves
because
them.
I'm gonna have to get rid of all but one, and then
Anna's
I'm gonna have to plan out everything after that.
Yeah, she loves the blue-eyed Lucy's too. I do too. They're nice.
They're gorgeous
They're
animals.
The Labradors of ball pythons. They're so docile. Anytime that anybody comes to our house that's afraid of snakes, that's the one we pull out. Call her Betty White. Pull her out, and here you go. And they're always like, oh, this is a white snake with blue eyes. Yeah, they're gorgeous. Yeah, so we'll produce a, you know, I got her. She's a butter Mojave breeding with the super Mojave right now. And then, because I know there's a few people around us that have already come, like, I want a bell. Okay, yeah, we'll have some, and they'll go. Yeah, they're pretty.
So you're technically through. This is your second Arlington
Vending. Yeah.
But how many times have you vended outside of Arlington?
No. This is
So you've only done that's huge, dude.
Like, it's huge. Like I won it. Yeah, the first one, feet first, was that one, and it was like, man, and we did decent, but it was fun. And now we've got the table runner showing our logo and everything. Because the last time we heard somebody's, they're like, I didn't know you were there. Like, oh yeah, you didn't. If you wouldn't have walked up to our table and seen the labels on the display case, you wouldn't have known. So I was like, oh, we need to start advertising and put this out there. But yeah, no, first one. I want to do the McQueenie down in Seguin. try to get in that one. I think there's one in September? I know there's one in December always. I think they do 3 a year there.
They do 3. There's one in, I believe, March, September.
Yeah, there's one March 18th and 19th, I think. And I think there's one in September. I want to try to do the one in September. But we're busy, man. I mean, between work, the reptiles, and then I coach my daughter's travel softball team.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we were in Seguin last weekend for a softball tournament. I was like, oh man, I need to come back here because the reptile show. And yeah, it's a lot. It's get up in the morning, reptiles, go to work, come home, reptiles, Wednesdays, softball practice, Saturdays, softball practice. And then we got rec ball in the city coming up, and we're coaching that too. All the girls, pulling the girls from the travel ball team. So we'll coach rec ball all the way through June, and then travel ball will start back up in July. But my daughter loves it. So as long as she wants to do it, I'm gonna keep coaching. Because she was like, Dad, I want you to coach my team. I'm like, I got it. Yeah. So it's since she was in T-ball, and we just keep going and going and going. So that's busy between all the other stuff. But yeah, definitely want to get away from just doing any RBC. And that Seguin show is one of the ones that I want to come down to. And it'd be pretty cool.
It's a good show, man. It's a good time. It's really well established down there.
And it's 2-hour drive from our house. So the last time when you were doing the December show, nice. Because you got travel for that one.
I didn't even make the December show. I had to move my mom from San Antonio in December. So.
Yeah, that's that weekend right before Christmas. So that weekend we always go. We take the kids and we take the camper and go to Fredericksburg the weekend before Christmas. They got it all set up. So that's a yearly tradition we do. So I probably won't do that one, but definitely want to try to hit that one in September. Get on there on the vendors list, because by that time all the babies will be hatched and be ready to go.
What ran through your head before you decided to just jump on and vend at NARBC?
Oh, what didn't run through my head? It was like, what do we do? We need the rack. We need this. What are we doing? And then you're making a packing list. Like I did up there goes stuff with the Army. Even before we came to this one, I went on my Excel spreadsheet at work and typed up a freaking packing list. And I'm in there. Yep, got a pack. This is going in my duffel bag. And just so much stuff. The nerves, what do you do? And then you're like, oh, but then once you're set up and the people start coming through, then it's just like, it's natural. You start talking to people, and then it's fun. And then you're sitting there with everybody. Like we share the table with Jim from Godfather's Exotics and Byron at Brace Exotics. So we got that good group, and we're just having a good time. And it's kind of hard because you want to break away and go walk around and see what everybody else is at. So you got a little window after setup to go see what everybody else is doing. And then a little bit during Saturday morning.
Oh, you do that?
I did. I went by your table.
I don't know what it's like.
I broke away for like 20 minutes. That's when I came by your table to say what's up. And I was like, all right, I got to go. And then you're stuck. You're there. But
I feel so bad too. Like it's in my head, man. Like I can't leave my booth ever. That's where I'm going to be. That's where I need to be. Yeah. Like Sunday afternoon, an hour or two before close. Okay. I might wander for a little bit. Make sure I get to say hi to anyone I didn't get to say hi.
Like I got there this morning about 7:45, 8 o'clock. And it was like, all right, let me check everything. Oh, you shed. Okay, let me clean this up. And then I went and walked around for about 30 minutes. Like, okay, what do you got? Okay, well, all right. Well, oh, cool. And I was like, well, let me get back because I got a complete setup. And then you're there, the rest of the day. But yeah, it's good times.
Cool. I can't believe you eased into it that easy. That's awesome.
It was nerve-wracking. Awesome. It was nerve-wracking because it was like, all right, I'm not starting with a little herp show.
It usually takes me to
Repticon or something like that. And then it was just jumped in. And after the first 30 minutes, and I was like, little jitters go away. And I was like, oh, this is good.
It takes me till about lunch on Saturday. Like it's either lunch or like if I get a sale first thing, and it's like, okay, first sale's out of the way, pressure's off. Like it wasn't a bust, we're good. Yeah. But no, that's awesome that you dive into it so easily. That's freaking that's outstanding.
Yeah. I love it. It's fun. It's a blast. And then being around everybody else, you guys, it just makes it that much better. It's awesome.
The after party.
After parties are always good. After parties, sometimes they can be too much fun, but most of the time they're a lot of fun, just a little bit.
So we have a lot of memories, and you have a couple of traditions with NARBC too. So, what's one of the things that stood out from Like this show in particular, like the NARBC.
That stood out this
just-
show? I would say today was those kids coming to the booth. That's what really stood out. They were there 2 different times with their parents, and for them it was educational. Them and the parents getting over their fear because they were like, "Ooh, snake," and then they were like, "Oh, cool. Can I see this one?" Today that stood out to me the most because you hear people talk about, well, my booth is not a petting zoo. And you don't want to stress the snakes out. But for me, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, come on. We'll talk, we'll show you everything. But they even came up one
Like
point.
designate a certain snake.
Yes. Like they came up and like, hey, can we take out these 2? No, those 2 are very flighty. They're going to want to move around. You do not want to hold those. Yeah, I think that stood out this show. And then the auction was a blast. Yeah. You get Brian up there doing his
You're gonna
thing.
have to go to an auction. We're not giving those details.
No.
It's funny, but I'm not gonna give those
No.
details.
Brian kills it up
I
there.
got looks from my wife tonight. It was worth it. Well worth it. So I think you have a great attitude towards it, that's what it takes, man. Like you've really shown what it's like to show or like you've embodied what it's like to have a passion for this. And a lot of people forget that and they just kind of get caught up in the moment or the day to day of it. But you literally, like, we've watched you blossom into what it is for you now, which is great.
You got to go into it with a positive attitude. If you don't, you're never going to succeed. You're just going to push yourself into a corner and beat yourself down.
When you first started it, did you want it to be a business, or was it just like, oh, I just want to have animals? And
honestly, when we first started, it was like, hey, we'll have some, and then well, let's breed and have a clutch, and we'll see what happens. It's not going to be anything big. It's just a little hobby, if that, and anything we make, we'll just put back into it. And then you start like, oh, wait a minute, this could, it's not full time for us. We got our other stuff, but you're like, hey, this could be something. This is fun. We can have fun while we're doing it. Me and Anna enjoy doing it together. If she wasn't into it, it wouldn't work. Because then I'd be like, hey, sorry, I'm going to be in the snake room for 8 hours on Saturday. And no, we do it together. And I think that's what works for us. We enjoy it. And then we start like, hey, well, we're selling stuff that's going good. Like, okay, well, cool. And all the research I did going into it was just, I was always told to work with the genes that you love. Don't chase people. Don't chase what this person's doing. Don't be like, oh, I want to make what they're doing and they're doing and they're doing. Because if you do that, you're just going to keep chasing and you're going to get burnt out. Work with the genes that you love. Work with what you want. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. If you're producing animals and you're looking at them, you're like, yes, this is what I wanted to hit. This is gorgeous. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It just matters what you think. You're producing what you want to produce, what you love, whether it's a single gene, 2 gene, double recessive, or whatever.
People see that too, like whether it's YouTube, whether it's snakes, or whatever your passion is, right?
Yeah.
If you're not genuine about what you're doing, you're gonna get seen right through.
They will see through it all.
Maybe not right at first, but they're gonna see it.
They will, and it'll show, and it'll show in your attitude. It'll show in everything. You're like, oh yeah, this is on my table, whatever. But if you're like, no, man, dude, I've got this ODYB or whatever, and check this out. Look at his siblings, and this is what the direction we're going, and this is the direction you can go. And they see that passion, and they feed off that passion, and they're like, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm going on this too. And if it's not, you're just like, oh yeah, there's this or whatever. They're gonna be like, okay, well, we're moving on.
You see that real quick?
Yeah, you will.
Oh man. So when you first started out, you said you only did 1 clutch the first time?
Yeah, so we bought those 3 from the 2 from Wilbanks and the 1 from Don. And we were growing them up. And then there's a guy, Rieta Reptiles in San Antonio. His name's Daniel. And he doesn't all these shows, but being him, we're from San Antonio also. So I remember seeing him, and he had I think at that time it was a 9-year-old, big old female, normal. And he was like, hey, I need a home from her. And I was like, let's get her. So we bought her. And it was like, hey, well, let's Our first one, we know, well, let's throw our banana het pied in there with her and see what happens. They only had 2 locks. That was it. And then we moved from the house we were at to the house we're in now. We set up the snake room. And I was like, yeah, she's looking pretty thick. And we were still new to it. And then we actually had the electricians over because we were like, hey, this is going to be the snake room. So we had them come and put a separate electrical box to rerun everything away from the house just into the snake room. So that way we don't have to worry about circuits tripping or any of that stuff. So they're sitting there doing that. I came home from work and I'm like, yeah, run this wire here. And I just happened to go in there and open her tub. And I was like, oh, hey, babe. Alana's sitting on there's 10 eggs. I'm coming right up. Don't do nothing. Don't touch nothing. So that was, and then right now, just that excitement of seeing her sitting on that clutch of eggs, first clutch. And it was just like, bam, the sea serpent incubator was already fired up. And it was like, okay. And I got pictures of our youngest, Carmen, in there helping, setting up the egg tub, doing everything. She was probably she's 10, so she was 5 at that time, maybe. And she's in there helping, thinking it's the coolest thing in the world. And dude, it just sparked.
She's
awesome.
still up today. A
Little bit. Yeah, she's getting away. She's like, I'm gonna go on my phone.
The glamour's worn off.
Yeah. She comes in every once in a while before, when the babies are hatching, she'll come in there and help set up, the tubs and the hatchling rack and this and that. But other than that, she's on her phone or
the eggs.
Yeah.
They want the exciting part that they can share with their friends.
Yeah. And then when they're hatching, they're like, oh, this is cool. Look at that. The head's tipping out. And then they're like, okay, I'm good. I'm going upstairs.
That's one of the things I fear the most. Is like I love how much my kids want to be a part of it, but they're all kind of at that age, right? Like, even my oldest, even though he's older, he's on the spectrum, so his mentality is still very much so the same age as his younger siblings. Yeah. And just their pure passion out of it just brings so much joy now.
Yeah, it's fun when they're in there, man. It makes it that much more special. Seeing their eyes light up and they're having fun. Transfers to you and you're having fun seeing them have it. I wish they would do a little bit more, but it is what it is.
It'll come one time.
Yeah.
It's just got to become the cool thing again.
Yeah.
It'll take a little while. But so you started out with just a single clutch your first year.
Yeah.
And then you've grown to where you are now. And how many clutches are you doing?
This year will be 8 clutches this year, as long as everybody goes, which they should. And then next year, probably a little bit more. Next year, we'll make a bunch of heads. Make a lot of heads next year. Make some this year, hold those back. But then a lot of the stuff that we would like ODYB and some other pied stuff next year, I'm just like, oh, got this female pug. Guess what? You're going there or make double hets, triple hets, and hets. Just be there.
Which is super important.
No, you got to go that back.
Like, you got to.
I remember watching the one podcast you did with Chandler. I think it was about a year ago. And he's up there. He's like, "Oh yeah, man, I did this. Man, I made 65 hets." I'm like, "There you go." But yeah, they're important. I mean, like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you take those hets, you grow them up, and
well, you've very much grown into where you were versus just trying to force it, which I think is important. It takes a lot of stress off of you, allows you to still work exactly what you want to work.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much good that comes out of just growing at your own pace versus, I see everyone trying to buy all at once. Let me just like dump all this cash just so I have the opportunity. And it's like, when you make something, you're going to make something.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel good to make a world's first or something. I don't know. I haven't done it, but I'm sure it does,
I'm sure it does, but we go back to what you want to work with. Just have, and as long as you're having fun and you love doing it, that's what matters. When you lose that passion, why do it?
So if you took snakes away right now, what are you doing?
Shit, I don't know. If all that stuff was gone, Man, probably just doing some more, taking the camper, maybe doing a trip here and
Doing
there.
some more RV
More
trips.
RV trips, yeah. But honestly, God, it'd be boring if there was no reptiles involved. And you see our stuff, we have a zoo at our house, man. I mean, we got cats, dogs,
turkeys,
all the indoor reptiles. I forgot how many chickens we have, and then the 2 turkeys. The turkeys are cool, but damn, they shit everywhere. Everywhere. I got to replace the cover on my smoker. And then once I replace that, I'm going to put some hardware cloth so they don't get on top of it. I had to cover the pool we have. There's a fountain. I had to put hardware cloth and a log and 2 boards to keep them from going on the fountain, because they were going on the fountain. And then it's like, I'm not
letting
cleaning
it go, and it's going
I
into the
cleaned
pool.
everything off and cleaned it and spotless, and all right, everything's back where it needs to be. And I started putting all that stuff on there to keep them away. But where we have
Peacocks are the same way.
Oh, Anna would love to have peacocks too, but our neighbors behind us have peacocks. But I've got where we keep our firewood. I'm building a platform on it. I need to finish it, because then it's going to be an enclosed area for the turkeys to go up and roost in and chill out, because they don't go in there with the chickens. And yeah, then she got the 2 ducks, and
How's that been?
they get big fast. She's had them 2 weeks and they've already like quadrupled in size. Little wings are coming in, and she puts
Why
water
do
in.
you build a pond?
No, I'm not building a pond. They can swim in the pool. I'm not building a pond. And she fills up the bathtub full of water and puts greens in there, and they swim around, beep, 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 eat the greens and dive in the water and do all that stuff. But yeah, she's starting to put them outside. But I got a chicken tractor that I built for her a while back, and she puts them in there. And then eventually the sulcata will go out there. I got to build an enclosure out there for that sulcata, because we already told the kids, when we're gone, that's your pet, and you're going to pass it on to your kids, because that's how long that thing's going to live.
Possibly one more
Yeah.
generation. I can't even see. So what's one of the things that you would like to tell the new people coming into the industry? Because you've been there, you've kind of blossomed out of it, you're making your way. What's something for the new people coming in that you'd really like them to hone in on?
So new people coming in, just don't rush into anything. I mean, I remember watching it, and I'm sure other people have done it. You see Justin putting out his videos, or certain people out his videos, and you're like, oh man, and people start talking like, hey, they're making this amount of money, they're making this. Don't worry about all that stuff. Don't rush in. Plan it out. Look 3, 5, 7 years down if you really want to make it a hobby, and think, okay, well, I want to make with this. Buy your females. Don't worry about males right at the beginning. And that's something. And I remember when I first started thinking about it, JT was the first one I reached out to, because I bought a gravel female from him, and I was like, hey, let me bounce something off you. You're a fellow Army dude. And I started shooting him, and we started communicating back and forth. And he was like, yeah, do this. And I was like, hey, well, this is kind of the way I'm going. He's like, you're doing it the right way. Yeah, buy your females, grow them up. Don't worry about the males, because you can buy a female and a male now and spend X amount of dollars on the male. 2 years later, when the female's ready and you're ready to buy the male, it's going to might be cheaper, but don't spend the money on the male. Buy another female, grow them up, and then buy the male. And that's how I would say, don't rush into it. Don't chase, don't follow. Just do what you want to do, the genes you want to work with, what you love, and then go with it. I think if you follow that and do that, you're going to be happy. But if you're chasing other people's dreams, you're constantly going to be chasing other people's dreams. If I'm always looking at you like, John's doing this, I want to make that. Damn it, he made it already. Well, now I got to start buying this so I can make what he's making. Well, now I've got to wait 2-3 years to make what you're making, and then
Which I probably already have something better in the rack.
Exactly. So just work what you want to work with. Look at the genes. There's so much out there. You're like, hey, what direction I'm going? What looks cool? What do I want? That's what I want to do. And then just do that, and you'll be happy. But if you're constantly chasing other people, your stress level is going to go through the roof, and you're never going to be happy. And then you're going to be one of those people, and we see it all the time. It's like, oh, look on Instagram. Oh man, look, this whole person's selling their collection. This person's selling their collection. Now, some people are selling their collections for obviously
Valid
good
reasons.
reason, valid reasons, like, hey, something happened on the family, or hey, I just can't afford to do this anymore. But there's some that are like, yeah, I bought into this, and yeah, whatever. I just want out. I'm selling all this stuff. You don't want to be just you follow what you want to follow and work with what you want to work
It's
with.
not for everybody, and a lot of people. What we tend to see, obviously, is a lot of people see the money side of it, and then they
Yeah,
come
it can
in
be
and-
very enticing when you see that. I mean, guys jumping in, they're like, man, this dude's making X amount of
They don't
dollars.
realize
And
that when
it's
you
like,
make that 20, 30, $50,000 investment, you're not getting that instant
yeah,
return.
exactly. I mean, there's guys out there though, you jump in, with a lot of money. If then yes, you can go and buy X, Y, and Z from certain people and make X, Y, and Z, and then you're going to return your investment. But it doesn't work that way for everybody.
No, I very much so believe the hobbies headed industry, whatever you want to call it, is headed in a great direction. I think we're doing a lot to improve who we are as a community every day.
No, yeah, absolutely.
That being said, though, what's one of the things that you would like to see in the industry? Put you on the spot.
Wow, yeah. It is putting us on. One thing that
You're
I would like
welcome.
to see. One thing that I would like to see in the industry is more people supporting U.S. art. I think that's the biggest thing that this industry is lacking. The amount of people that are reptile keepers that are out there versus the amount of people that are actually U.S. art members, whether you're gold, silver, bronze, or even go on to US Art and do the $5 a month bronze membership.
Right.
It's
super
$5
easy.
a month.
Yeah.
The regular bronze is 40 at one shop. Do the $5 a month. You're not going to see it. You're going to give $60 a year. Oh, you don't get a shirt. So go buy a shirt. I got shirts. I bought 2 shirts today from him.
Right.
But I think that's one thing that this industry is lacking is the amount of support for US Art.
It's hard, man.
The stuff that US Arc does, the fight that they do for us, filling those guys and gals over there is phenomenal. And like they talked about tonight, the stuff that's happening in Florida, people can sit there and say, it's not happening to me. It's not happening in my state. But guess what? There is somebody in your state that's thinking the same thing, the stuff that's going on in Florida. There's people that are sitting in those offices that are watching what's going on in Florida be like, I don't like this. I don't want that stuff in my state either. And they're planning it. And like they said tonight, Brian said it best. If you don't think what happened in Florida can happen here, you're wrong. And it will. But if everybody supports USR, that gives them that much more power. Get on there, go to their website, share everything that's going on. Hey, this is going on in Florida. This is going on in Arizona. This is going on in Connecticut, wherever it is. Share it, get it out there, talk to everybody, email your representatives, get them involved. So you send them 2 emails and you don't get a response from anybody, send it again. Keep making your voices heard because that is our livelihood. If we don't fight for it and it gets taken
100%.
away, I mean,
100%.
yeah.
It's a tough battle, and I think it's something we got to do as a community. Like even species wide, right? Like we have our little niches between each species, and there's very much so some species that are like, well, I don't feel like ours are ever in threat or something like that, and it's not true. It's all like Florida's literally listing anything that they know comes through there. They're trying to ban import into there. There's so much that's trying to go on over there that we're not necessarily privy to until it's too late, right?
Yeah.
And if they get it through there, that's one of the hugest import hubs shut down. The next one's going to be probably, I want to say it's Ohio or it's New York. I'm sorry, New York. And if you get that, 90% of the reptile industry dies instantly.
Yeah.
But
it's so huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
So huge. And I go back again to saying the number of reptile keepers out there versus the number of US ARC memberships. U.S. SARC memberships are down here and the number of reptile keepers up here. It needs to be, brought. It needs to be. I mean, and there's really no excuse for it, in my opinion. If you love your reptile, join. It shouldn't be just us at the show, at the auction, like, hey, yeah, we're all supporting U.S. SARC. We give our money to U.S. SARC. We're buying stuff at the auction. Heck, we had that little girl come up to our table from Aggie Troop 9025 out of College Station, Texas. I told her I was going to give her a shout out. She showed up and Anna was like, you got cookies? I was like, hey, go buy every single box of cookies that she has in her car and take it to the U.S. ARC booth and put it in the auction. And she was like, done. And we just need to do better. Everybody. So if you're watching this and you're not a U.S. ARC member, which I'm pretty sure most of you are, go. Even if you're just donating a little bit. I mean, $5 a month. I mean,
that's nothing. That's your coffee.
Yeah. And that's probably not even coffee nowadays.
Right.
I don't drink coffee, but
I don't either.
Starbucks, something. Yeah. I don't know if you get anything for $5 at Starbucks. I don't go there. So I don't know.
Kicked out maybe, but yeah. And I fully agree. Like there's legislation that just came through, and so New Mexico, for those that don't know, is where I grew up, and they tried to do an animal ban there, and an animal program ban, which essentially if you change the movement of the animals and you take the ability to educate, a lot of us wouldn't be in this industry, right? Yep. And that's what we preach all the time, is putting animals in people's hands, not just kids' hands, but like education and showing what these animals are really about. And we had 3 people show up, one of which was Phil.
Yeah.
3 people in opposition. Luckily it got tabled, but it's just like 3 people, man, out of an entire state, and one of them wasn't even the state. And it's just,
I mean, dude,
you gotta care. You gotta care, and I hope we find a way to kind of connect it together and bring people together and find that passion and that inspiration to really fight for more, because we're seeing constant attacks. But
left and right, and they're trying to sneak stuff into bills that you don't even see, and U.S. ARC, they're catching that stuff.
My mentee was like, John said he'll pay for mine. Pay for your own? No, I'll pay for one. I'll pay for one. Work harder. No, I'm just kidding. That's horrible. But yeah, man. So for those that really want to check out everything that you're about, besides what they saw here tonight, they want to dive into your projects. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of your links down in the description below, but if they want to get a hold of you, reach out to you, see what you're doing, where you're going to be, stuff like that, where do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, pretty much the Instagram and Facebook. I keep that updated with everything we're doing with the reptile stuff, even non-reptile stuff, like even ducks and turkey. I'm posting that stuff on there. But yeah, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I got people reaching out all the time, and I'm always got that opened up. Even when I'm at work, it's minimized. So if something pops up, I'm like, oh, okay, let me check and see what's going on.
Okay. So y'all make sure you give this big old knucklehead some love. Let him know that you saw him on the show and that you support him.
Appreciate for having
especially if you're not his family. Like I expect.
I know. Yeah, family, I'll hear it from my mom. She was like, let's see, what did she said?
Wait till the ducks start pooping.
Oh yeah, because the first thing she saw them, she was like, are they going to be pooping in the pool? Because I'm not getting in there if the ducks are in there.
All right. Y'all make sure you check them out. My guy already called me out. I do look tired. I've been going all day. I'm gonna go get some food in me with this guy, and we're gonna have some fun, and I'm gonna rack out. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode live from Arlington, NARBC.
Live and uncensored.
Uncensored. Yeah. You did pretty good, actually.
Yeah,
you did pretty
fun.
good.
This is awesome. I enjoyed it.
I fully expected military language and it didn't come out. I hope you all enjoyed this. Next week we will have Alyssa Leonard from Full Throttle Reptiles on again. It's been a couple of years, so I'm excited to see what's changed in her life. Y'all make sure you tune in. We'll see you on the next one. Y'all stay blessed.